All right, so it's week 17 of Kingdom School. We are in the class of Stronger in God's Word. I'll give some people some time to get on here, and I'll explain to you a little bit of differences to what we're doing with our ministry now, how we're moving forward. So obviously we are changing the name. The name of our ministry is now My Father's House. It was Christ King Way. Which was a great name, it's a beautiful name, but at the same time, we evolve and we move forward and we do what's right to bring people in and save souls. Like that's the job. Like there's no pride in this ministry. There's no attachment to what we think and what we want is best. We just want truth and we want to do what's best to bring people into save souls. And so we thought a name change will be good, a logo change, and a little bit of change, different, a little bit more of a change also when it comes to our layout and how we're doing what we're doing. So before we did like 3 lessons on Sunday and was just teaching on 3 different classes, trusting God and getting stronger in God's word and then putting God over the world. We've changed that around a little bit, and so we're still doing the teaching. We're still doing 3 classes, but we're doing 3 classes during the week now. And so those classes are going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. And yeah, so we'll be going through the word. It'll be more of a teaching environment, not more. That's what we've been doing, a teaching environment, but it'll be a teaching environment. And then on Sundays, we're going to do an actual like preaching sermon, this for you and personal for you in your life for real. And so, instead of talking about other people's lives in this Bible and stuff, we're going to talk specifically about these topics and these issues and the reality of what is happening in your life and how we need to conquer those things in your life for real. So, we're making changes, but we're making good changes and we're evolving because we should evolve. When you're on a walk with Jesus, he says, follow me. He didn't say staying still. He didn't say go back home. He didn't say none of that. He said, follow me. And so when you following somebody, you walking past them and you're changing, you're growing from what you used to be to what you're going to be. And so that's exactly what we're doing in this ministry. And we're not hindering the growth of our ministry. We're not that powerful. So let's get it going. We are here. This is week 17. And so if you don't know, or if you do know, we know that what we do is that, so in showing God, in trusting God, we're in Genesis, and showing God's word right now, we're in Leviticus. And so we'll get to it. So stronger in God's word. So stronger in God's word. And so this is lesson 17, loving through what you know. And so, this can be the hardest task in life right here. This is the hardest battle that there is, period, on this earth, is loving through what you know for real. And so we're going to dive deep into this because this is a spiritual battle that has been since the very beginning. Since the very beginning, this is the one battle, this is the one thing that the enemy has been he does to us, and he is using information and knowledge and what's good and bad going around you to deter you from following the one command of God of loving each other. And so we are going to dive deeper into that and we'll get it going, okay? So, where we're going to go with this is this. So it says, and for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. Okay? And apologize about that. This is not doing what it's supposed to do right now. Let's do this. I'm going to take a quick break. Some people are going to come on here. I'm going to make sure that this is going to be what it is before we get started. We haven't got it started yet. So be patient with me for 1 second and we'll get it going, okay? Okay, let's get going. So, from the very start, let's get it. So it says, "For in much wisdom is much grief. He that increases knowledge increases sorrow." And so, anybody, this scripture means a lot because it's quite literally saying, the more wisdom you gain, the more grief you have. And it also says that increasing your knowledge increases sorrow. And this is the truth. This is very much so the truth. And you have to understand this. I want you to think about this. Like, some of us are so hungry for knowledge and information about whatever it is. Some of us are in relationships and we can't help but, we just want to know all the information about, you just so hungry to go through your partner's phone. Some of us are dealing with friends and you just want to know so bad what they're doing in their life, and you're not even ready for the information that you get. And so you understand that for real, like the more knowledge you receive, the more sorrow you have. And that's really the truth for real. And so we're going to keep getting into this and keep going. And we'll go here. So it says, do we not know that whatever the Torah says in the Torah, it speaks in order that all mouths are stopped and condemns. It does so in all the world by Yahuwah, God. Therefore, by the works of the Torah, no flesh is justified in his sight. For by the Torah is the knowledge of sin. And so, we have to understand that what the Torah is, okay? And so, it literally says that in the Torah comes knowledge of sin, okay? And so you understand another word that is in, I guess, the King James, the NESB, the NLT, NIV, all those versions, they just say law, okay? And so if you have been in this word, you've been in your word, you really understand that we do not live by the law, we follow the Spirit, and that's the truth. But you have to understand that what the law was for. And so obviously the law came through Moses, okay? And through Moses came knowledge of sin. So he literally taught the world what sin was. He's the one who introduced to the world, like, hey, this is sin. These are all the ways that we turn out in our sin. But you have to understand that in having that knowledge of what sin is, it is not for you to use to condemn another being. Just because you know what's wrong, you have to understand that's when the real test begins. Is now I know what's wrong. But you have to understand there's only been one command since the very beginning. And that's to love your neighbor as yourself. And so you understand that no matter the information you receive, no matter the knowledge you receive, you have to be strong enough to receive information. And when you receive information, you cannot receive information to judge and condemn somebody. When you have the right mind and the right spirit for what you're doing, you receive information to learn how to love somebody better. And so understand this, and we'll keep going. I have a lot of good things to talk about here with this, but we have to understand that the law and the Torah, which brought all these commandments and all these laws and stuff, came knowledge of sin. Knowledge of sin. Now you know what's wrong. But understand, because you know what's wrong, you have to understand in this Torah and stuff, it's saying this deserves death, this deserves death, this deserves death. But you have to understand the death he's talking about, he's not telling you to go and kill somebody because of what they did. No, he's telling you that this is why we all deserve death. This is why we all deserve to go to hell for real, because this is how our lives turned out from sin. So we'll keep it moving, but I want you to really think about this for your life. Is that you have to understand that God provided, the knowledge of sin. Like, you wanted the knowledge so bad. You ate from the tree knowledge of good and bad. You want all this knowledge. I will give you every last knowledge of what is good and what is bad. And he gave it to you. But you have to understand, this is when the real test begins. Now that I know all of this, can I still love through it? And if you think that is hard, I want you to think about God right now. Is that he knows all things. He knows all ways that we turn out into sin. He knows every way that is an abomination and ugly and deserves death in this life. And he still loves you. And you have to understand that we are called to reflect the love that our Father gives. And so understand for real that through the Torah and the law came knowledge of sin. That is what it was for. It was to tell you about what is wrong. Now you know. Now you know. But you understand, once you know, now you have a decision to make. Am I going to condemn off of this information, or am I going to love off of this information? If you have not been able to receive information and continue in love, hopefully today I can help you free you from that in your life. And so let's keep going. So the next thing I got for you, it says, so 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And so some of us are very ignorant of his devices. You're very ignorant of it. And that's why you walk around and you're walking around and you are the vessel he is using to destroy people in his life, because you're so ignorant to it. You've never thought about it. You've never looked into it, and you don't even care to know possibly. But you have to understand that you cannot decide to be ignorant on what the enemy does in this world. How can you conquer someone that you don't know what their attack method is? You can't. You can't. And so today, it's my job, like it's literally my job. So what I was putting the work to do is to expose the enemy in his life and help you see clearly what he is doing in your life, so that you can step on his head like God told Eve that her seed would do one day. That's what you're supposed to be doing right now. And so I'm going to tell you that we're going to reveal this truth about Satan and what he does, because he does the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's so repeated, and it's so he really does not even have any more attack methods, because he doesn't have any more attack methods because he doesn't have to attack differently. We love the way he attacks. We have fallen in love with what he has done in humanity. And so today, let's expose that. And once I expose it, I hope that you can begin in your heart to truly hate what he is doing in this world. And if you truly hate it, you will not fall victim to it one more time. If you truly hate it, you will not fall victim to it one more time. There's not many things that you should hate in this world, but you should hate the attack on humanity that the enemy has had. You should hate seeing people in distress. You should hate seeing people depressed. You should hate seeing people anxious. And you should hate seeing people die inside day by day. You should hate it. You should hate it. And so let's keep going real quick. We'll keep it moving. I'm not going to stay too much on anything, but we're going to keep it moving because I have a lot to talk about today with this. So we're going to start here. And so if you don't know yet, like I said to you, when I read these things off of, hold on, I got you. Messing up today on my graphics, but stay with me right now. Understand that when I read these scriptures, these are from a direct translation of the original, so they have the original names of God and everything in it. I am going to put in God in for the names and stuff because I don't want to trip you up, and I just want to keep moving. I'm not worried about names. We know who God is, okay? Let's keep going. So, and God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. For in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. The day that you eat of the tree of knowledge of good and bad, you shall surely die. And so you have to understand that he's literally saying that this tree is the root of all sin. Because sin, what is the penalty for sin? The penalty for sin is death. And so he's literally telling you, when you eat from this tree, you are going to get the penalty of death. When you eat from this tree, you are going to get the penalty of death. And so we have to understand something right now. When we hear death, because our fleshly minds, all we think of is our flesh. But you have to understand that what's inside of you does not have, your soul and your spirit. It's going, so death, understand this Bible says death, it puts death and Hades together. Hades is what we call hell. And so you have to understand that your spirit does not actually experience a knife to the heart death. So what you understand is that this death is what's inside of you. But you have to understand that Jesus Christ also says that when they follow him and you follow his word, you move on from death to life in this life. You move on to eternal life in this life. And so you have to understand that the effects of death you feel in this life. The effects of eternal life you feel in this life. You know where you're at with God. You know where you're at in your journey, because how do you feel inside for real? And that's just the truth. And so let's keep going. And that's another thing you have to understand about this whole situation. So actually, let me keep going. I'm gonna read the next one and I'll talk some more, because because this Adam and Eve is it. It's it. So Genesis 3:1-5. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which God had made. And he said unto the woman, yeah, has God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye should not surely die. For God knows in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And so you have to understand something. This is what the enemy is doing over and 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 over again in our lives. This tree of knowledge of good and bad, what is it? It's literally knowledge of good and bad. It's literally deciding that I just want this information so bad. That was Eve's issue. She just wanted this knowledge so bad because she thought it would make her wise. She thought it would be everything she wanted in her life, and it led to death. And so you have to understand, this is what the enemy is doing in your life over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm going to prove it to you that it's not about what people do. It's about the information that you're receiving and how you're processing it. Because you have to understand something. When they were in the Garden of Eden, okay? They're in the Garden of Eden, and he told them you can eat from any tree in the garden. Any tree. So he told them you have free will. You can eat from any tree in this garden. Adam and Eve were in there eating from any tree. And it's so interesting at this time, it just dawned on me that Adam and Eve weren't even near each other. They were minding their own business. They were minding their own business. And they were eating from these trees. And they were just eating and eating and eating. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. They decided, I want this tree. Okay, cool. I want to make this choice. Okay, cool. I want to do this. Okay, cool. I want to eat this. Okay, cool. Right? But then, as soon as they received this knowledge of good and bad, they were in the perfect garden. They were in the same environment. And as soon as they take in this information, that same environment that was perfect, that was at perfect peace, now was this big place of chaos in them. They're running around because they're ashamed, because they're naked. They're running around in fear and hiding from God. That is the same thing that we do. I'm trying to tell you this. Someone's choices were not the pain of your, were not the reason for your fear and your shame. It's the information that you're taking in, that you're believing for real. That you're believing over God. Because the one command from the very beginning is to love your neighbor, right? But then we take in this information, and do you know what happens? We think that we're so wise and so knowledgeable that we can be the judge. That we can make the commands of our lives, and that we can do those things. And so literally, and the devil would lie, he said, because you think you'll be like God. You do think you're like God. And you think that your judgment is just. But you have to understand something. That no matter the information you receive, no matter the knowledge you receive, no matter what comes across your lap, there's still only one command at the very beginning, and that's to love. And so you have to understand that this is something that is completely ravaging relationships. And this is the first marriage, the first institution of unity in this world. And the enemy came to it and said, you know what? I'm going to tear it apart. Because do you understand what he's against? If the one command is to love your neighbor, do you understand then what? He wants you to transgress the command of God. All he wants you to do is fall out of love. The only way he can get you to fall out of love is to get you to believe in information about somebody, about their good and bad, like you don't have it. The only way he can get you to fall out of love with yourself is when you start getting this information of good and bad, and you start hating your own self for the choices you did make and you could make one day. The only way he can get you to stop loving your neighbor is to get you to believe that you can judge what's good and bad. That's the only way he can do it. And so I have proof for you with this too. So some of y'all, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't care what it is. We can talk about people falling out of relationships because of addictions. We can talk about people falling out of relationships because of cheating. We can talk about people falling out of relationships because of text messages. We can talk about people falling out of relationships because of friends that they kept. But you have to understand, it's never been about the choice. Because guess what? I can go, listen, this is true story. Think about this. You are sitting at home in your bed, right? And so somebody is out doing what the enemy has already placed inside of you, what you thought was bad. But right now, when they're out doing it, whatever they're doing, it's not fazing you. Their choices don't actually even hurt you. But it's not until you receive that information that it starts killing you inside. And so you have to understand, it's not about people's choices. It's about your processing and your mindset with the information that you receive in life. And are you strong enough? Do you have enough truth inside of you to counteract all the information that the devil throws your way and gets you to fix your focus on? Are you able to do that? And so, let's keep going real quick. I'm going to keep on talking because I got a couple good things to talk about here. We got some things to go through. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 13:2 says, "And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all belief so that I can remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing." He's literally saying this. You can acquire all the knowledge in the world. You can acquire all the wisdom in the world. But if you can't love, you can acquire all prophecy. You can know from the beginning of the time to the end of time. But if you cannot love through the information you receive, you are nothing. And he literally says himself, it's funny because we're talking about this tree of knowledge and good and bad. And look what he throws in there. He says, "in all knowledge. And if I have not love, I am nothing." And so some of you guys just want to know something so bad. But are you able to love through that information that you're seeking? And so understand for real that this is literally Satan's device in our lives. Is that he just wants to, he is putting our hearts a hunger for information to know everything. I want to know everything. I want to know everything you do. I want to know everything you have done. I want to know everything you're going to do. I want to know everything. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. I know. I know. I know. I can't mind my business. I want to know. But this is why you have to understand, this has been placed inside of us, and we've all already eaten from this tree. Some of us love that tree. Me, myself, I cut the tree down and said, I'm done with it. And so you have to understand something for real, that this is what Satan is doing in our lives. Is he's trying to get you to focus on this information. That's why this Bible says that we fix our gaze on what's unseen. For what's seen will soon be no more, and what's unseen will soon be seen. What will soon be seen. All information is based off of what you see. And guess what? There's going to be good and bad about every last person, every last situation, everything that happens in life. There's going to be good and bad information right there in front of you. But you have to understand, at some point in time, you have to have a mindset and get stronger in truth to where you can deny information, decide, I'm just going to keep loving. I'm going to deny this information of what I think that people are going to think. I'm going to deny this information about condemnation. I'm going to deny this information about sin. I'm going to deny all this information of what I think is wrong. And I'm going to decide to love. Because it does not matter. You can know everything. I can know everything that Jesus Christ was trying to reveal to us. I can know it all, but if I cannot love, I am nothing to God. And so you have to understand, this is the same thing that it says with Jesus Christ. And he was telling them, he said, they came to him, he said, he said, this type of people will come to him like this on Judgment Day. He said, they'll say that we prophesied in your name, we cast out demons in your name. And he said, I'll look at them and I'll say, I'll never knew you, depart from me. Now, they didn't come to him and say, we love everybody. They said, no, we prophesied and we cast out demons. I promise you right now, you can do all that mess, and if you don't love, it don't matter. You can speak in tongues. You can have all the information you need in life. You can have all wisdom. You can have all understanding. You can cast out demons at a word. You can do all these things, but if you don't love, he don't know you. And you are nothing. As sway as the wind and tossed and turned by every wave, you are, if you cannot stay grounded in love. And so let's keep going real quick. I'll pull up some things for us here. Okay, we're going to get into our lesson in Leviticus, and we will keep it moving. And so, like I said, this is in Leviticus 18, so we're at a point in time where he's basically giving us the knowledge of sexual immorality, okay? And so we're going to go through this, talk about the truth of the knowledge of sexual immorality, but we're going to wrap it up and talk about this, because I'm trying to tell you, it doesn't matter what you know. If you can't love through it, it don't matter. But it's the thing is that the law and what I'm about to read to you and we're about to understand, it should implore you to love, have a greater love in this world. And hopefully today, as we go through this and I reveal it to you and we talk about this sexual morality deal and everything that he's saying, it implores you to have greater love in your life. And so let's get into it. So it says, the nakedness. Is this the right one? Nope, it's not the right one. I'm sorry. So, ye shall therefore guard my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am God. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am God. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother shall you not uncover. She is your mother. You should not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's woman shall you not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. The nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your mother or daughter of your mother. Whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness you shall not uncover. The nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, even the nakedness you shall not uncover, for theirs is your own nakedness. And so, in this one, he's really just talking about incest, right? And so he's literally saying, one, you should not have sex with your father. Two, you shouldn't have sex with your mother. And three, if your mother, if your father's wife is not your mother, you should not have sex with your stepmom, because your father and your stepmom are one. That's having sex with your father. So, let's keep going. The nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father. So your sister, the daughter of your father, daughter of your mother. So your sisters, obviously, you should not be having sex with your sisters. Whether she be born at home or born abroad. So whether she was born in your household or she was born across the sea, it don't matter. It's your sister. Stop. Don't have sex with her. The nakedness of your son's daughter. So your granddaughter, you should not have sex with your granddaughter, or of your daughter's daughter, so still your granddaughter. Even the nakedness you should not uncover, for theirs is your own nakedness. Your grandchildren are an extension of you. You shouldn't have sex with them. Let's keep going. Leviticus 18, 11, 16. The nakedness of your father's woman's daughter. So your father's woman's daughter, begotten of your father, she is your sister. You should not uncover her nakedness. So this is your father and your stepmom have a daughter. Don't have sex with her. That's not right. You should not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is your father's near kinswoman. So your father's sister, that's your auntie. You should not have sex with your auntie. You should not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is your mother's kinswoman. Your auntie, don't have sex with your auntie. You should not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. You should not approach to his woman. She is your aunt. You should not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. So I'm married and this daughter is not mine. Don't have sex with her. She is your son's. She is your son's. Oh, I'm sorry, daughter-in-law. So my son's wife should not be having sex with my son's wife, right? She is your son's woman. You should not uncover her nakedness. You should not uncover the nakedness of your brother's woman. It is your brother's nakedness. So, my brother has a wife. I should not be sleeping with my brother or my sister's spouse because they are one that's having sex with your brother or sister because they're one. Let's keep going. Leviticus 18:17-22. You should not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shall you take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. So let's go back on that one. The nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shall you take her son's daughter, or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her kinswomen. It is wickedness. So, neither shall you take a woman to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, beside the other in her lifetime. So, you should not be having a threesome with two sisters. That's wickedness. Let's keep going. Also, you should not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. You should not have sex with women while they're on her period. That's unclean. Moreover, you should not lie carnally with your neighbor's woman to defile yourself with her. So, moreover, you should not lie carnally with your neighbor's woman to defile yourself with her. You should not be lying with your neighbor's wife, okay, to defile yourself with her. Somebody's wife is off limits. And you should not let any of your seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shall you profane. So, pass your seed through the fire to Molech. So understand that was a worship of sacrificing your children. So, in modern day times, that is abortion. And that's the thing, too, is that I'm really happy I read this for myself recently because these are things I didn't even know. That I didn't know that was in there. And so I'm happy I read that today. It gave me some knowledge and helped me understand a little bit about my own life, for real. So, the name of your God, I am God. You should not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. So he's literally saying you should not, homosexuality is an abomination. Let's keep going. Leviticus 18:23-25. Neither shall you live with any beast to defile yourself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomits out inhabitants. So let's talk about this. One thing we don't understand about this Bible and stuff is that, and this is, trust me, we're going to have way more talks. Hopefully you come back and check some things out as we keep talking and keep revealing stuff. But the land in this Bible is truly a representation of our mental state, for real. And so you have to understand, he's saying the land vomits, and he's saying the land is defiled. Your land, your mental state is going to be chaotic if you live your life in this manner. So we'll talk about these things. Give me 1 second. A little bit more. And this is to wrap up the whole point of this section right here. So these are the things he just talked about. He talked about incest. He talked about menstrual sex. He talked about adultery. He talked about homosexuality. He talked about abortions. And he also talked about bestiality. Now, at the end of this, he says, these things are all an abomination to him. These things all defile you. And so you have to understand that, one, if you're living in truth, you're not trying to go for these things for real. That's one. But now, having the knowledge of this sin, does that mean that you do not love people who do these things? No, because you're just as bad. You're just as bad. And so let's look at it real quick. It literally says, on this graphic right here in front of you, it says incest equals menstrual sex equals adultery equals homosexuality equals abortions equals bestiality. And so my question to you, you're just as bad. Why not love? So that person that you were judging for that abortion, you fit on this list somewhere. Oh, and let me remind you too that Jesus Christ talked about adultery, and he said if you look at a woman with lust in your eyes, you commit adultery. You're just as bad. Vice versa for women also, right? Looking at a man, right, with lust in their eyes, you commit adultery. You're just as bad, literally. I should have put equals porn watcher on here. You're all just as bad. We're all just as bad. So why not love each other? And so you have to understand, if anything, when you read this book and you're reading the law and you're reading all these things, it's not to point out and say, okay, this person is not worth loving if they do one of these things. No, the reality is, if you really dig deep and you're actually listening and looking at this for real, if you're actually listening and you're looking at this for real, you'll see clearly that he is telling you that we are all just as bad. We're all just as bad. And so some of you guys are, you judge somebody and you can't love them because they're homosexual, but you can't stop watching porn. There's no difference to God. You're just as bad. Some of you guys are like, oh my God, they having sex with animals, blah, blah, all this stuff. Hold on real quick. Did you get an abortion? You're just as bad to God. And some of y'all are like, oh, adultery. I could never do that. How could I? Who commits adultery? Anybody who commits adultery, I can't deal with that person. I can't be in a relationship with nobody who does that, all this stuff. Well, guess what? You just, the person who has sex with a woman on their menstrual cycle is just as bad. And so you have to understand for real that through this word and through this law, we are understanding knowledge of sin. But you have to understand that we are all just as bad. And so sometimes you'll receive information, and you'll receive information, and you'll receive information. But when are you going to wake up and realize I am just as bad as the information that I am condemning someone else for? You're just as bad. And so some of us truly struggle because we receive information and then I know things, and like you just know something in your head. You know something and you can't get out of your head. I just know it. I know that he does this. He watches porn. I know that she be stealing. I know that he whatever it is. I know that he does this. I know she does that. I know they do this. What do? You do these things too. You're just as equally bad. And so today was completely about, one, obviously we're in Leviticus and we're journeying through it. But when I read this section about sexual immorality, it made me realize just that how much information do we, because the truth is that this law was given for knowledge of sin. It's just information. It's just telling you what sin is. It doesn't mean that, okay, I see this and now I hate people who do these things, because you're just as bad. The law is quite literally telling you and pointing out to you that you are just as bad. Some of us search and find for what we think is wrong with somebody else to put it in, to search on the Bible app or search online and say, let me find where it says that this is bad. And you find it and you're like, look, you're bad because you do this. Well, read the whole thing and you'll see how bad you are too. And so you have to understand that there's not one person in this world that's not going to have, at least off of your perception, good and bad about them. There isn't. There is not. There isn't. Listen, Jesus Christ was here, a perfect man, completely led by God, completely led by the Spirit, and he was crucified on the cross. It's not possible to look perfect to everybody. There's only one person that you can actually be perfect to, and you can live up to their expectations in everything that you do in your life, and that's God. And so you have to understand for real that, some of us are so worried about so many things. And I'm trying to tell you, our biggest worry in life is information. You're so worried about people finding out a certain information. You're so worried about information coming to you. You're so worried about it. You're so worried about condemnation. You're so worried about it. And I'm just trying to tell you that is nothing but the enemy in your life getting you to focus on that. Because the truth is in love. Where your mind should be is, who am I going to love today? Who, even though I receive this information, who am I going to up my love when I receive some information? What am I going to conquer within myself? I have all these fears of what I think is wrong and I don't want to see in my life. I got all these barriers in my journey that I put up myself. But when are you going to see that the test in your life is how much can I love? Can I love through it? The test in your life is, can I love through it? And so you put up these barriers and said, this is not worth loving through. You did that. You did that. You grew up doing that. You said, this ain't worth loving through. You said, this situation, if I'm in this situation, this is not worth loving through. You put up this situation and said, if they're doing this, that's not worth loving through. And then one day you came to God. And he told you that what's right is to be merciful and what's wrong is to condemn. And so now you've built your own test in your own life, because now you've got all these barriers and all these hoops and these jumps and these things you gotta jump over in your life to continue to love people. And so one day when you finally wake up, you decide that I'm going to look at this day and I'm going to conquer. I'm going to conquer. I'm not waking up every day from my own desires. I'm not waking up every day to go and do nonsense. I'm actually trying to conquer things inside of myself so I can have peace. Because these roadblocks that you put up, these fears you put up in your life, these condemnations, right? Boom, 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 boom. These are the things that are blocking you from going back and having that perfect peace and eating that he placed you in. You put up your own test in your own life. You did. But now it's time to conquer. Before you were just running away. Every time you saw your fear, you came to the first barrier. And as soon as you came to it, you ran the opposite way. Now it's time to conquer. Because guess what? Once I jump over that barrier, I never have to go. I don't have issues with this barrier anymore in my life. If this information, if this situation comes up, I can have peace through it because I've conquered that already. I know I can live through it. I know I'm worth loving through it. I know that when I love through that situation, I get nothing but good on the other side. But what you don't understand is that you can run away all you want to from your fears and your condemnations. You can run away all day from your fears and your condemnations, but they're still going to be in your hand. No matter where you go. And guess what? What the enemy, if you're going to follow God, and guess what the enemy's going to do? He's going to use your own fears and your own condemnations as a test in your life. Listen, when Job's kids died, when he lost all his cattle, when he lost all his means to make money, and when he got sick, do you know what Job said? He said, the very thing that I have feared has happened to me, because the enemy, and guess what the enemy was doing before that? He went up to the Lord and asked the Lord to test Job. And what did he do on that test? He used his fears. Everything you fear is going to be your test in your life. But until you decide to conquer that fear with love, and the only way you're going to conquer that fear is love. The only way you're going to conquer that fear is love. Perfect love casts out all fear. Because when I have perfect love, I've shot through every last barrier. And now I have no fears in my life. Because what information can come to me that's going to hurt me? Not one thing. Because I know that's the test of life. That's all life is about. Life is literally about a journey to peace in your life. That's all it's about. God is a God of peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. The Lord says, I distress men because they have sinned against the Lord. So guess what? When you don't sin against the Lord, what does he give you then? He gives you peace. Jesus Christ said that these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace. Because the journey is to find your perfect peace in life. To where there's nothing that the enemy can turn your attention to and information that's going to throw you off of your path. To where there's nothing that can come across your plate that's going to bring you and sink you down to the floor again. And the sad reality is that, like Jesus Christ said, he said his power works best in weakness. So guess what? What brings you to your weakness? What brings you to your weakness? He uses the enemy. He uses the enemy to take you to your fears. And then he's like, hey, now use me. Now use me. Use my power. Every word I've spoken to you is preparing you for this day to conquer that fear. But all you got to do is believe him and what he said. You can't do it on your own. Jesus Christ said, it's the spirit that gives life. The flesh profits nothing. And the very words I have spoken to you are spirit and life. He's teaching you about life. He's giving you the spirit to conquer. All you got to do is believe in the spirit. And the very words he spoke were the spirit. All you got to do is lean on his words and what he's telling you. He's conquered it all. He's conquered it all. There's not one piece of information in your life that he has not conquered. Start being bold in your life and calling out when you see the enemy working in your life, and he'll run away. When Jesus was walking with Peter, right? Let me take this off the screen. You're not seeing everything right now. So understand, when Jesus was walking with Peter, right? And he was walking, and he was saying how he's going to be handed over and he's going to be crucified. And Peter was like, no, Lord, you're not going to die. And what did Jesus Christ say to him? He said, get behind me, Satan. He called his disciple, his top disciple, his main man disciple, he called him Satan. Because he had to call him out. When you see Satan working in your life, working around in your life, and you see someone being pushed towards the evil in this world, and you see them getting pushed towards and pushing you towards things that aren't in agreement to what Christ has said, call it out. Step on his head. When you feel those thoughts in your mind that are counteracting the words that Christ has spoken to you and is giving you so much peace, slice that snake's head off. Use the word that he is giving you and slice him off and don't let him come back. And so understand, this is what the Lord prophesied. The Lord prophesied about this. He prophesied to us about it. Ain't that crazy? He didn't send it through a man. He prophesied about it. He said that this enemy will strike your heel, and the woman and her seed will crush his head. It is time. You are her seed. Crush the enemy's head. Stop playing around with him. Stop reasoning with him. Stop ignoring him and acting like, oh, there's nothing going on. He's not attacking me. You're lying. If you're following Christ, he's worried about you. It says in Revelation 12, after this, it told this grand story about before time, this woman who had the Son of Man, she fled into the wilderness. And then said the devil left heaven and he went down into the wilderness, right? And then when he gets down into the wilderness, what did he do? He went and tried to attack the woman. After he couldn't attack the woman and she was protected, he sat by the shore, and it literally says this, that he waged a war on the woman and all her children, those who were faithful to the word of God and to the commands of God. And so you understand that if you are following Jesus Christ, who is the word, he's only worried about you. Why do you think that after Jesus got baptized, the first thing that happened was he was led into temptation with the enemy? Throughout Jesus' whole life, in that ministry, when he was walking and he was talking and he was doing those things, he was calling out the enemy over and over and over and over and over again. Why do you think that in no other story in the Bible is there anyone calling out the devil? Why do you think that? And so you have to understand for real that and he conquered. You have to open your eyes and see what he does in life. Is that he pushes you towards information just to throw you off. The thing is people, they made those choices in life, but guess what? When they made those choices, your life did not change. Look around you. The only thing that's changing your life is how you're reacting to information. And so by saying this, we have to find mercy. Because there's good and bad information about everybody. And the truth is, if you want to receive mercy, you have to give it. Someone cannot give love that they have not had an example shown to them for real. If you want to receive mercy in your life, because you know you're going to do something they perceive as bad, you can't help it. Jesus Christ couldn't help it. You can't help the condemnations they put in their own heart in life. But odds are is that the way the enemy works, he's going to use you on their fears. And that's just the truth. And you may not have done nothing wrong. So, let's see what we got here. If we got anything else for you here. So, Romans 2:1 says, therefore, you are inexcusable, O man. Whosoever you are that judge, for wherein you judge another, you condemn yourself. For you that judge do the same things. For you that judge do the same things. For you that judge do the same things. You do the same things. The same things that you're condemning someone else for, you do. You've condemned somebody for lying and you done lied 1,000 times. You're condemning somebody for their sexual life and you don't even want to tell nobody how many bodies you got on your count. You condemn somebody. You condemn somebody for not going to school, going to college, and you skipped every day in high school. And when you went to college, you didn't even go to class. You do the same things. Why are you condemning your neighbor? And so, to wrap this up, this is the last thing I got for you here, and we'll be out of here. It was a good talk today. I definitely was good for me and myself. And so I'm going to read this off to you one more time. I'm just going to wrap the whole thing up. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all belief so that I can remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. I'm nothing. You can know everything. You can have all the information you're seeking for. You can go to school and get a PhD. You can have all the information about your partner's life. If you can't love, you are nothing. You're nothing. You're nothing. You're weak. You're nothing. There's no strength inside of you. And you think that you're strong because you say, oh, I'm better than that. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't deal with that. I run away from things like that. I don't do things like that. You're weak because you're not willing to love through anything. You're weak. And you're never going to have a successful relationship if you can't love through your own condemnations. So, that's what I got for you today. That's the end of this talk. I'll flash these cards up and we'll be done. So text your prayer request at 317-891-4148. We'd love to go to battle and pray for you, send angels in action in your life. You can text us with a prayer request. You can text us with a scripture you want to talk about. If you just want to say, hey, let's get on the phone sometime. We can do private Bible studies together. I don't care what it is. I want to journey with you. I'm not your pastor that sits up on a throne and don't talk to his people. I'm talking to everybody because that's the only way to change a life. Is I want to journey with you. I want to walk with you. Let's walk together as we follow him. So text your prayer request at 317-891-4148. Lastly, tithe and offering. So we encourage you to save 10%. You are the buyer of Christ, a walking testimony to his good news. We encourage you to save 10% because you are to support your ministry in this life. Save 10%. You are a walking testimony to Jesus Christ in this life. Save your 10%. You're going to need it, okay? Then we ask you to give 10% because understand this. He has called his disciples to let go of money, let go of physical possessions, and it's through the giving that he placed on your heart. Nobody gives freely unless God puts it on their heart for real. So what he put on your heart to give that 10%. If you put something on your heart, give it. And then so understand what we do is that we give back. So I collect the money up in this Cash App. I take $50 a week out to ensure that we can pay for our app and keep everything going in this ministry. And then what I do is I divide up equally and I send it back out to everybody, the disciples that gave in tithe and offering. So that's the way we do that. Besides that, we are done for the day. And I appreciate you guys being here. It was a good talk. Have a great day.